On this episode of Breakfast Talk, we talk about all right, the latest news on the Batman, Keanu Reeves comic book release, BRZKR, and indie game platformer that hit $30 billion on its IPO.
Wakey, wakey, smell those eggs and bacon. It's time for Breakfast Talk, a podcast discussing current, independent, and mainstream entertainment topics, from gaming and movies to comics. Start your week off right with the Breakfast Boys. As always, if you can smell what we're cooking, click that like button, and if your tummies are rumbling for more, click subscribe and ring that Brecky bell to turn on all notifications. All right, let's talk.
Breakfast Talk!
What's up with your voice crackle that's going on right now, Dill?
It's my lack of coffee.
Oh, okay.
More coffee.
When he drinks coffee, he hits puberty.
Nice.
Let yourself like this.
Breakfast Talk.
Breakfast Talk. Gonna talk like this the entire episode so I don't sound like a robot. All right.
Speaking of robot, there's a platform that just had its IPO, I think, last week. I think actually might have been the end of last week. But yeah, it's called Roblox, which I had never heard of, and then I started diving into it, and it's really interesting. Basically, it's like a combination of what is it? The RPG Maker and Steam. So it's kind of like a platform where games can be hosted, but it's also a place where you can make your own games.
Mm-hmm. Like a sandbox.
Yeah, and it's cool because everything's free. Like, to create games is free, to play games are free. But just like, all the games now that are making massive money,
skins.
Like what's it called, Fortnite and Rocket League. How they're selling skins. They're selling aesthetic features.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty interesting. And I was actually glimpsing through some comments about it. Like, apparently a ton of the platform has a ton of the games of the platform are just broken games like that. Somebody threw up on there. They don't even work. But there's enough on there that are really good that they've been driving massive traffic. And essentially, the thing that's interesting about it kind of shows you how much room there still is in like the indie game world. That there's a lot to grow. So it was saying that one of the biggest concurrent one of the games with the biggest concurrent players had 1.6 million players at its peak, which is pretty nuts for an indie game to have that many in a single instant. And apparently one of the games on the platform that hits continual highs is consistently in like the hundreds of thousands of concurrent players. So it's pretty cool to see that. And when they opened, I was actually just looking at it on Robinhood. I was trying to see the day that they opened. Oh, come on. Oh, look, it's going to go away on me. But it started off and pretty quickly, just skyrocketed in value, going from, or becoming, what was it? I think, it's worth a market cap of $38 billion right now. So the interesting thing is, if you think about how a lot of evaluation of a market goes, they take everything cumulatively. So if you want to say the food and beverage market would be worth I don't know, $9 trillion globally or whatever it might be, you're trying to look at how much money there is to play in a system. Well, this is a single company that involves indie games, and it's hitting a $30 billion point. And so to say that if you want to get into the indie game development world, that there's quite a lot of room to still play with. So it's very, very fascinating to see something like this come out with such great success. That 30 billion's quite a lot for a little make your own game.
It's like a penny.
32 bill. That's like pocket money. You know what I mean? That's walking around money.
Yeah, that's news in video game land.
Now, you know what's hilarious is I can't even like conceptualize $32 billion. Like to walk in a room and to be able to like say this is $32 billion. Like this probably fills up an entire warehouse full of money. Yeah, exactly. I don't have enough fingers to do that. So
yeah, I didn't know what Roblox was
Crazy.
until the guy at work, Mr. Conspiracy Man, when he just started talking about it like one day. I was like, oh, okay.
What conspiracy did he have for Roblox?
Oh, nothing. He wants to try to create his own game or something on there, and he's like, yeah, everybody's reaching out to me. I was like, oh, are they? Okay.
Everybody, yeah, like PlayStation. Which, by the way, PlayStation's been restocked at Best Buy. And breaking news, it is now out of stock.
That was quick.
That was actually true though too. I think it was like Friday they restocked a bunch of stores, and then Friday it was out of stock.
That just reminds me of that.
It's like Jordan's, man.
It just reminds me of that little clip in like South Park, and their money's gone. Where'd it go? It's gone.
Yeah, but the Roblox, I did hear about it before, but like I didn't know much about it. I saw some imagery from it, and then I just hadn't heard about it in a while. And then I saw the IPO pop up a bunch of different places, so then I just kept looking into it. And yeah, so
it has a huge like younger fan base. Like younger kids freaking love
that
it.
Fortnite fan base, I guarantee it. It's like that because that's the whole thing. It's like these games that are free to play can pull in anybody, and then you get somebody who's got a little extra money. They want to support some artist, and that's kind of the cool thing. It's like you can be an artist and make money in this. You don't even need to be the game developer. Like if you find a game developer who wants to make money, the only way they make money is selling aesthetics on here. So you could be a designer, not a developer, and then go to some game developer and be like, hey, you know, I like the concept of, you know, when someone goes to, when there's a gold rush, don't dig for gold, sell the shovels. And in this sense, don't develop the game, develop the skins that people are actually going to be selling to begin with.
Right.
You know, so it's very cool. And in this case, like Roblox is the one selling the shovel to the indie game community. And what you could be doing is, I don't know, shining the shovels. You know,
exactly.
the shovels,
you're selling the little back supporter, so throw your back out. Well, that's super interesting news. A tremendous amount of money for an indie IPO to be making, so that's crazy. Moving on to film, TV show news. So just one piece of news. We're actually going to be shortening this stuff down. So just one piece of news. The new The Batman movie. So The Batman, that's what it's called. It's not called Batman. It's The Batman movie. Wrapped shooting, I believe, like a few days ago. So it just wrapped, and which is a good thing because that means that like the delays from henceforth will be very minimal. So if there is any kind of delay, it's probably going to be way shorter than something that's like COVID related, or, you know, they're still shooting it. There's possibilities for multiple kinds of delays in the shooting process. So now it's done, it's wrapped. Now they're going into post-production, marketing, all that kind of stuff. So the release date, which is set for like late 2022, is probably going to be more accurate, which is cool because now we don't have to wait longer. We know it's going to come out within this, you know, really short amount of time in terms of like a, you know, plus or minus days or something like that. So that's cool. And this Batman movie is going to be pretty drastically different from the ones that have previous iterations of the live action Batman. And a few ways that it's going to be different. It's actually focal pointed on like a detective movie. So you see, it's kind of like that detective, you know, comics kind of version of Batman, where it really is kind of like a mystery. You know, as you're going through the movie, there's multiple things that are happening. I guess the premise is that there's multiple murders in Gotham City, and Batman is trying to solve that case. And in doing so, he's connected to all these different multiple villain characters, which in this iteration, it's kind of like Gotham. If you've ever watched Gotham, like they're not there yet. They're not like that fully fleshed kind of version of themselves.
Yeah,
right. Exactly. They're like on the come up. Let's just put it that way. So you got like the Penguin, who's
I'm on the way up.
Exactly. So you got like the Penguin character, who's kind of more of like the mobster persona. It's kind of like in Gotham, he's more of a mobster figure. He's not like this, you know, this mutated kind of Danny DeVito looking dude. So he does have a weird face. Like I've seen the Colin Farrell like makeup, like prosthetic. So he does have the Penguin look, but he's very much a different character type.
So that's cool, because that's kind of like what they did in Gotham. Was like he's not like, you know, more like it's just he's got a weird leg instead
limp.
of
Yeah, exactly.
it's just,
yeah.
like yeah, it's very cool. It also makes sense now why they selected some of these villains like to do the
Mm-hmm.
detective style role.
Can't wait for the Riddler.
Exactly. And the Riddler is probably the most drastic change in terms of character types, because more than likely he's going to be kind of like a sociopath, like the killer, and he's leaving riddles around like a killer would do, like a psychopath would do, taunting the police, kind of setting up crime scenes, displaying bodies and things like that in very creative ways. So we're going to see a really dark tone for the Riddler, which is really different, but it makes complete sense, like you were just saying. So that's something that is it's kind of more like homegrown. It's more real world. It still has the fantasy aspect, but it's definitely more towards, like, again, detective comics. Not, it's like a Dick Tracy as opposed to like a superhero comic or a superhero movie. And then we have Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman, so that's going to be interesting. They really haven't given too many details as to how her direction is going to be. So at this point, I think they're leaving it open for interpretation. Like, she could be a positive character or a negative character towards Batman. She could be an anti-hero, somewhere in between.
I'm hoping she's going to be like anti-hero stuff, where like she's doing bad stuff for Batman just because she doesn't kill people. So
well, that's her typical line of like storyline, though. She's always in that anti-hero character role, so I'm thinking they're gonna try and maybe push her towards a dark side or a light side, so it's gonna be more of a different change in that way. Or they could stick to more of a prototypical kind of storytelling for her and have her in the middle ground somewhere, as a thief. A thief is kind of like in that moral middle ground, right? It's not like evil but not also not good.
That's kind of the thing, like in the old Justice League and the old Batman cartoons, like that's like I'd like to see it a little more like that, like in Gotham. Ironically, like the way they build that character, that's probably one of my favorite like characters to see developed, because it's interesting where it starts off where it was a survival tactic and then like slowly becomes you know what, screw it, like the world owes me,
she's probably the realest character, and when you look at it, she's probably the most relatable realist character in the Batman franchise.
Yeah,
everybody else has a much more exaggerated storyline. Even Batman himself, like his parents get killed and then he turns into a vigilante superhero. Like, that's a little, and now that was exactly. That's a little more exaggerated than reality, but like Selena Kyle, you could see that happening in real life. Like, again, survival mode, it becomes like, I need to be a thief to survive. And she becomes famous essentially in the underworld, but it's not like she's a hero that everybody knows. She's much more in the shadows as like an actual thief would operate. So
yeah, and I think I remember too, even in the cartoon, like it's not like the police talk about her a lot. Yeah, it was always just like, oh, your friend might be here, like that kind of thing.
And it's always like a mystery if she's involved. You know what I mean? If something's stolen, it's like, well, it could be Catwoman. We don't fucking know because she's that good. You know what I mean? She could get away with this if she really wanted to. So yeah, it's definitely going to be a new take on Batman, but like specific characters could fluctuate between like maybe roles that they've had before. Like, I do see like the Penguin character being more of like a Gotham-esque, like the show Gotham, I mean, like more drawn from that side than something else. And I definitely see like a Riddler that we've never seen before, so that won't be drawn from really any subject matter. But a Catwoman could probably be drawn from one or two or multiple or all of the iterations that she's had, because all of her storylines are fairly tame when it comes to her development as a character.
Honestly, I really do hope that they take from the Gotham show direction for Batman, because it feels like the way that they're building this out, they're using the Dark Knight for the Batman side and then Gotham for the villain side. And that, like, if they really pull that off, this might be, could potentially be one of like the best Batman movies ever. Because
I honestly think it will be. I honestly think it's gonna knock a lot of people's ideas of what Batman movies have been, like, completely. It's kind of gonna be a Dark Knight in that way, like we had predisposition of like, this is what a Batman movie should be.
Batman nipples.
Exactly. That's what we thought Batman was all about, and now we're going to get a entirely new take direction. And what's interesting specifically about this movie is it's a standalone movie. Like, they're not tying it into the current DCEU. It's completely separated. It's like the Joker movie. Like, it's kind of like in a multiverse fashion. It's not tied to what we're seeing on this end. It's its own thing, and it could even be like a sequel. There could be a sequel, there could be a trilogy, like the Dark Knight series, and it wouldn't even relate to anything that's going on in the universe over here. So that's interesting in itself. And then we actually there's rumors, let me just tie this in, that there's going to be a Joker sequel. So, hey, maybe they clash, those two, worlds clash, but it's outside of the DCEU, so that's all I got. I'm done.
Yeah. The one thing I was just thinking of too is like the way you're describing the Riddler almost sounds like they would be combining Gotham's Joker and the Riddler in the sense of like the way that they worked, because one was just pure sociopathic and the other one was like having a psychotic break. And so like,
that's my take on it. I don't know if that's the solid direction that they're going to go. I'm not saying that there's been like, yep, this is the character type that they're going with. They're keeping a lot of mystery. Obviously it's a year away from release. There's a lot of marketing to be done. There's a lot more, different looks and theories that we're going to get in the meantime. But, as it stands right now, the Riddler as a character, like if I was looking at this guy in real life, he would fit more of that sociopathic, psychopathic kind of person who's like a murderer. And again, taunts the cops, taunts Batman, come and find me kind of person. So yeah, the Joker definitely fits into that realm as well. And I think, in a lot of iterations, especially the animation, we lose the Joker we lose the Riddler completely because we already have the Joker. So we don't really need those two. Like they're very similar in terms of like their modus operandus. So yeah.
Definitely excited.
Comic books. So there's this comic that Keanu Reeves has that he partnered with Boom Studios. Boom Studios does like, Power Rangers and a bunch of other crazy stuff. Berserker funded on Kickstarter last year and made Kickstarter, like the comics side of Kickstarter, like I think the highest it's ever been so far. Yeah. And it has sold over 600,000 copies. That's insane for a comic book.
Already. Already.
It surpassed Dark Knight's Death Metal #1,
wow,
which was the highest selling comic. And then, back when that was out. And then it became the highest selling comic since Star Wars in 2015. So,
wow.
I was going to ask if outside of Kickstarter, like I see like even on say Amazon, it's not getting released till October. What?
Oh well, there's a delay for this book anyway. They probably just don't want to like screw it up.
Especially after what's it called, Cyberpunk.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Like think about it, they had Keanu Reeves on that, and then they kind of like.
He just has like so much like pull now. Even I know that he did like when Matrix was out, and Matrix is coming back, so that's just
Matrix
reason.
4.
Yeah, but
John Wick 4.
Yeah, John Wick.
John Wick 4. Like, dude, this guy's going nuts right now. Like, maybe someone did kill his dog, and now he's like, I'm gonna make so many movies to show you how awesome I am. And then when I'm done making millions of dollars for bail later,
I'm good. I'm getting out of any situation.
Some people were complaining last year when Boom Studios was on Kickstarter because of, is that even indie? Because well,
it's not Indiegogo. That is kind of the point. Kickstarter is like Indiegogo. The purpose of it is for indie comics, or for not comics, but indie creations. Where Kickstarter is just a crowdfunding platform.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I'm if anything, I'm definitely more glad that they chose Kickstarter than trying to like destroy what Indiegogo is, because that's still a great option for small creators.
Yeah, but yeah, so it sold over 600,000 copies, and I think that was an insane thing to mention on this episode of Breakfast Talk. So yeah,
well, yeah, I think it's an interesting concept that you just brought up, because I've seen that conversation as well in some like indie groups, and there's validity to it. Like, right, like I mean, how can a small creator even come close to the kind of reach that like say somebody like Keanu Reeves has? There's no comparison, right? And for him to like back or to be part of a creation and then put it in a crowdfunding platform, which is traditionally for the underdog, for the little guy to grow, it kind of is, it's like contradictory, right? It's like you're already at the top. You don't need to be on a crowdfunding campaign. Like you could literally even make your own campaign. You don't even have to be on Kickstarter. You have enough resources. You could set up a website that works just like Kickstarter yourself. and just launch your little campaign and fund it, and you'll still get funded. Like you still probably make as much money as you did on Kickstarter. So to me, there is some validity to that argument, but at the same time, it's kind of like saying that you don't have, like, if you're, once you reach a certain level of success, you don't have the same freedoms as everybody else. Like I don't have the freedom to go on Kickstarter even because I'm successful. I can't use Kickstarter. Like that there's an inequality there. So it's like on both sides there's validity, and then on both sides there's kind of like an argument, you know. So
well, the couple of things I like to think about too. It's like there's a whole book on guerrilla marketing style, which like Kickstarter would be a type of guerrilla marketing. Like even though they have a big brand, like the people that go on there don't typically. And so it's interesting when you see something like a, say like Coca-Cola status, like a big thing, do those weird things that like when Domino's was filling in potholes in major cities, right? That's a brilliant form of guerrilla marketing that normally big corporations don't do, even though they really have the capacity, just like these guys have the capacity to run a Kickstarter. But honestly, I see it more like when who was it? Bella Thorne, I think, that joined OnlyFans, and people were upset, but it also drew a ton of eyes to this platform.
exactly right.
So it's one of those things where it could be that there's people who really like for example, I'm a huge fan of Gary Vee, but there's still people who have no idea who he is. So it's the same with Kickstarter. It doesn't matter how long that's been around. Not everyone knows that it exists. There's a lot of people, and not all of them know, but there's a ton of people that know Keanu Reeves, and a ton of people that would follow him wherever he's going. And now those eyes are on Kickstarter.
Exactly.
And so now they're signed up for one of their newsletters. Suddenly, we decide to host a Kickstarter, and we're doing
It definitely helps, raise the awareness for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I see it as like, it might have temporarily pulled attention away from other, like I wouldn't have wanted to run a Kickstarter during
at the same time.
Although honestly, it depends on who was donating, because
exactly.
people that donate.
Pretty sure we did. Pretty sure Chronicles of Horror was happening while.
I was gonna say actually, I thought one of the people on our platform did, but I guess it was
Actually, a couple of people did, because I'm sure the campaign was maybe overlapped with a couple of ours. But obviously, there's still room for everybody to kind of have their way. But I guess it's just, again, the when you see it as a competition, or if you see it as a competition, then you're outgunned in this match. You know what I mean? That kind of scenario. If you're saying like, oh, there's a limited amount of people that, use this platform, and we're vying for attention, from all those people. But like you said, there's an opportunity that for people, because they know Keanu Reeves and they don't know Kickstarter, now those people are coming over and porting over to the platform and saying, this is a cool platform in general. There's so many cool other projects. Maybe they don't even back his project. Maybe they don't like his project, but they see something else on Kickstarter, like an indie publisher, and they're like, this is actually way cooler. Like,
and
the
other way I love to see it is like whenever somebody complains that somebody's disrupting something like that, it's kind of like if I don't know, like some major news broadcaster hopped on Patreon, right? Like as opposed to like the small YouTubers. It's like, you can be mad, or you can go make your own Patreon. Like I laugh like the, what is it, like the bookstore and Amazon thing, like the truck drivers and automated trucking, like that's something where that'll always happen. Stuff's going to break the stuff that you're used to using. You have to get used to change, because it's the only thing that is consistent.
Exactly. Yep.
And so like, for example, like the stuff we're putting into our site, like we're building out our own platform because we don't want to be in control of like some platform potentially getting completely destroyed, because they might have brought that comic on there, and then maybe people only come to Kickstarter now looking for major players releasing stuff, and they don't care about the little guys. So how do you get attention? You got to look for a new place or make it.